right. Welcome, Gary Kilmer, to the first episode of Broadway Banter.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to it.
Thanks. And kind of like I said in my introduction when I did my first one, what you see is what you get with this one. So whatever happens, happens.
Perfect. Almost like live theater.
Pretty much. Exactly. How amazing is that? It all works out.
Right.
So Gary and I have been friends for about 30 plus years.
Give or take 100.
Yeah,
or
something like that. We actually went to college together at University of Northern Iowa.
Former two Iowa boys sitting
Yes.
here talking about Broadway.
Yeah.
What's more natural than that?
In Vegas right now.
In Las Vegas, yeah.
You know, you never know where we're going to end up, and here we are in Las Vegas.
30-year friendship just keeps going and going.
Just keeps going. And so here's my random question, and since it's about Broadway,
Sure.
I know that you were in Chicago
Yes.
on Broadway,
Yes.
but you were in other things before that as well. So what other things did you do
So
before?
my first, kind of Broadway level experience was actually the first national tour of Joseph Dreamcoat with Donny Osmond. That
Nice.
everybody knows about.
Yep, definitely.
It was, by tour standards, it was a cushy gig because we didn't go anywhere unless we sat in that city for 3, 4, sometimes 6 months.
Wow, okay.
So it was shortly after college, I was doing a show up at Goodspeed Opera House and auditioned for the Joseph Tour, got the Joseph Tour, ended up joining the Joseph Tour in Toronto, and spent about 2 years doing that. And so I kind of had a Broadway experience before I had ever even moved into New York, which was really cool.
So what then took you then to New York after doing the touring?
So, you know how one thing leads to another,
Yes,
which leads to
yes.
another, which leads to another. So while I was on the Joseph Tour, Music Theater of Wichita contacted me about playing Joseph in their production of Joseph. I had done a summer at Music Theater of Wichita earlier.
Okay.
Love it. If you're not familiar with Music Theater of Wichita, viewers, find out. It's an amazing, amazing regional theater. They asked me to come there and play Joseph. I did and had a lot of fun, and that was the reason that I left the Joseph Tour.
Gotcha.
While working with Joseph Dreamcoat at Wichita, a good friend, Dawn DePasquale, who was my Mrs. Potiphar in that show, got a choreography gig at Paper Mill Playhouse, and she agreed to choreograph the Broadway bid for Children of Eden that Stephen Schwartz and Robert Johansson were doing at Paper Mill. So she brought me with her back to the New York area. I was her dance captain as she choreographed Children of Eden. So that kind of brought me back into the city. When I was back into the city, then I started doing some other stuff and ultimately auditioned for Chicago. So that's how it all kind of came full circle. People ask me when I moved into New York, and I don't have a definitive answer. I have to say, well, my luggage kind of went there in 1996, but I didn't actually arrive until like late 98, early 99.
Wow. That's actually new information to me that I didn't even know about.
So I was fortunate in that I got to go out and experience, working under a professional Broadway contract before I was ever actually in New York, which was really unique and cool.
So then you get to New York, and then how does the audition for Chicago come about? Is it something that you chose to do? Did you happen to see that it was advertised, an open call type of thing?
Interestingly enough, it was something that, an opportunity that was brought to me. While I was performing in Children of Eden, I don't know how familiar you are with that show, but in Act 2, there's a big number where everybody plays animals and we're all getting on the ark, 2 by 2 by 2.
No.
So I played the male, obviously Cheetah. Or leopard, actually. It was the leopard. And it was, I don't want to say sexy dancing. It was still Children of Eden, Bible story. But it was the sexiest of the dancing in Children of Eden. And Adrian Zmed was playing our Adam in that production with Stephanie Mills as our amazing, amazing Eve. And Adrian Zmed's agent approached me after having seen the show and said, I think you have the right look. Do you have representation? My answer at that time was, no, I do not. He said, would you be interested in freelancing? I said, I'd love to. He's like, why don't I submit you for Chicago? I know they're looking for people for the first national tour.
Wow. Okay.
So I was familiar, of course, with Chicago, always been a fan of Fosse. But it wasn't something I was actively seeking out. The opportunity came to me and I decided to go in for it, and that's how the process began.
Wow. So then you started in the touring company. Then how long did you tour? And then how long before you actually went on Broadway?
So Chicago in its entirety was about 5 years of my life.
Okay.
Tour, Broadway, Portugal, Lisbon, Portugal, Tokyo, back to Broadway, back to the tour. In some capacity, it was about 5 years. So I was out on that tour for about a year and a half before I went into the Broadway company.
Okay.
And then again, I bounced a few times. Sometimes I was swinging, sometimes I was an onstage track. Once you've been with a show that long, you kind of know all of it, and it's much easier to swing at that point. So it was a 5-year process, and again, I consider myself very lucky. I was young enough to be able to survive tour and bouncing around, and yet also got the experience of working in New York and having an apartment there, and kind of considering myself a New Yorker for a while. So I was very fortunate.
That's very cool. So how long then do you think? Because you kind of jumped back and forth, but how long on Broadway specifically do you think?
I guess if you added it all together, like this spot and this spot and this spot, I would say 3 years in New York.
Very nice, very nice. Do you have any fun stories, either from touring or fun stories from Broadway, or both? Whatever you want to share.
It was such a great and amazing time that there's probably lots of fun stories.
Right.
Anybody who's ever played a show, especially a really popular show in Tokyo, has stories to tell. At the time that we were there, Chicago was still kind of the hot ticket in town, and we knew that there were going to be fans. That we expected.
Tokyo is known for fans just in general.
Absolutely.
I think. So,
absolutely.
I know where you're going with this one, I think.
What we did not expect, and I definitely did not expect, was full-fledged groupies. People that would show up at the stage door not just once, but every night. People would come to the stage door wearing your costume. Like they had seen you on stage enough that they had gone out and sought out and purchased elements or made, and they would show up at the stage door for your autograph wearing your costume.
Yes.
That I wasn't completely ready for, but but it was fun. This is actually auditioning for Chicago story, but I will tell you something that I've shared with a few close family and friends, but I've never shared publicly. About the audition process. So that agent sent me in to kind of an open agent call. It was a big cattle call. There were probably 300 of us there that day, but it was sort of an agent submission call at the same time. That first round went very, very well, and they ended up calling back a small group of us for kind of a final callback. A lot of times in those situations, you're going into an audition, you do not expect to see the production team there. What you're expecting to see is a casting director, maybe an assistant choreographer or something like that. But got to be the day of that final callback, and I woke up that morning with a terrible pain in my side. So much that, for half a second, I thought about not going. And my partner at the time even said, wow, I think this is serious. Maybe you should go to the doctor or something. And I was like, I have the final callback. Not today. Full High School Musical Theater. My life was an episode of Glee. I was like, it does not matter.
We're going to make this happen.
Exactly. I don't care if I'm dying. I'm going to this audition. And true story, the final callback was at the Equity Studios, and again, that time I'm going to say maybe there were 60 of us there. By the time I got there, I was in more pain and more pain, and I was literally sitting outside of the room going, until they called my name, and I was like, yes, I'm here, ready. Went in, danced my butt off for Ann Reinking, Deb McWaters, the whole production team was there, did the whole thing. Left the room, went straight to a payphone, called my partner and said, meet me at the emergency room, and I had my appendix out that night.
Holy cow. Again, another one that I didn't even know about.
Ann or Deb, if you are watching this podcast and you hear that story, shoot me a text. There's still a part of me that thinks that kind of helped me. I was all hunched over the whole time.
Very Fosse.
My appendix went away that day.
Wow. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
I didn't know.
I still have the scars right now.
Wow, that is crazy. Okay, well, with Broadway, I know that a lot of times, Chicago specifically, I actually know that they do this, where they bring in special guests to either be Velma, Roxy, Billy, whomever, Do you have any special stories or a favorite, I guess, that was in the show with you, or favorites?
You're asking somebody like, pick favorites amongst their kids or something like that.
Yeah.
So many amazing people. I don't know why these particular ones stand out. Alan Thicke was a lot of fun to work with when he came in as Billy Flynn. Lea DeLaria came in as Mama Morton for a while, and it was right at the time where Lea was, getting a lot of publicity and very popular. And she was so generous in constantly giving back to the cast. While she was in the tour, if she got invited out to do a special appearance or something, she would say, "Okay, but I'm bringing the cast," and then she would hire cars or whatever she had to do to take us. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It just so happened that when Melanie Griffith joined the Broadway company as Roxy, her husband, Antonio Banderas, was doing 9 across the street.
Oh, yeah.
So for a little while, there was this kind of inherent connection between the Chicago Broadway company and the 9 company across there. And Antonio would be over here and Melanie would be over there, and they would invite us back and forth. And I was never close with Melanie, and I don't mean to, pretend that I was, but it was a really interesting time because these two casts were just intermingling constantly.
That's very cool. Yeah.
So many. If I'm leaving anybody out, I'm sorry. Vicki Lewis, you were amazing. The Nah Visitor, you were a lot of fun. It was a really neat experience to see how differently so many people can interpret the same role. Definitely. And you see that in every show that you go to, everybody. Another story about Ann Reinking. There was I don't remember who was scheduled to come into Chicago, but for whatever reason, they had to bow out and they had to cancel. And so we needed a Roxy for 6 weeks. Okay. And Ann Reinking came in, of course, the choreographer of our production, but also, infamous Ann Reinking, Fosse dancer, and the original Roxy in this production, came in for 6 weeks. And all of us were so kind of nervous. In that first rehearsal, we were like, do you need a hand here? What can we do? Do you need... And literally, she looked at us and said, "You guys have been doing this for years. I'm the one that's only here for 6 weeks. Tell me what you want and I'll do it." And that was
amazing.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was Anne through and through. So that was a really wonderful memory as well.
That's awesome. Speaking of memories, actually, I just thought of this while you were talking about that. I don't know if you remember, years ago, it was, I think, towards the beginning of when you were in Chicago, I was staying at your place, and we just happened to go around Chicago. We were walking by. We actually were outside of the theater where Chicago was. I don't remember who was on the poster at that time, but for some reason, I think it was you and I, or maybe it was just me, I was literally doing one of the poses from the posters, and you took my picture or something.
Yeah.
And then, all of a sudden, in a car sitting right there, the window went down, and it was Ben Vereen.
I remember that. I do remember that, yes. Just, Broadway, Hollywood royalty.
Yeah.
And just, "Hi guys, how you doing?"
Yeah, you look great. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was so funny because I just thought of that. And I was like, it's crazy now to kind of think back of the things.
Yeah. If there's anything that I learned by working with so many different celebrities, the ones that are really, really talented and the ones that are, have become legends, not only because of their talent, also because of the person that they are.
Yeah.
Generous, giving, kind, wonderful to work with
Yes.
on stage. Anybody that, a lot of people have talent, but the ones that have really incredible talent and a really incredible personality to go with it, they become legends.
And it's funny that you actually say that, because that's why I actually decided to start this, is that I've been fortunate to get to know quite a few past and present Broadway performers. And to your point, they are just the loveliest people to be around and the nicest people. And not saying that, they are celebrities, of course, on Broadway, but they're just real people, and they just want to be friends with others. And
as you're talking, Huey Lewis comes to mind. Huey Lewis came in as Billy Flynn for a little while, and he was another one. He was so gracious. He's like, "This is not my world. I'm used to back phrasing everything with a band behind me.
Yes.
This is not my thing. You guys tell me what to do." And it was just so gracious and fantastic.
That's awesome. So since leaving Broadway, is there anything that you took away that you still kind of use today?
Yes, and yes.
Yeah, okay.
When I left the stage, I started teaching for a little while. So I taught theater and dance for about 9 years, 4 in New Jersey and then 5 here in the Las Vegas area. I will still argue that an arts education is a solid education for exactly the reasons that you're talking about, because there are so many transferable skills.
Definitely. Yeah.
Even now, I'm working more in the management of a show, but the things that I demand of my employees, early is on time, show up prepared, ready to, you've already done your reading, your homework, whatever it is that you need to do before you get there. Take care of yourselves while you're working, stretch, drink lots of water, whatever it has to be. All of that rehearsal etiquette sort of stuff. Where you had to take care of yourself, you had to take care of your production, you had to take care of your castmates, you had to show up and do your gig. I still use that line all the time, which is come in, do your gig to the best of your ability, then go home. And that is something I will always take away from that time performing, because it just instilled a work ethic. Again, good Iowa boys.
Yes, definitely.
That we had that work ethic to begin with.
I do agree, yes. I think that Iowa's, Midwestern in general, that's just who we are.
Yeah.
That's how we're born.
Absolutely.
And grown up.
And by nature, Midwesterners are storytellers.
True.
That's how generational wisdom is passed down, as you tell a story. So I think there's something natural there about theater too, and it's been a wonderful, amazing life.
Yes. So, kind of talking about life and past Broadway.
Okay.
I know that you just wrote a book.
I did.
As well.
Well, to be very clear,
yes,
I wrote that book 18 years ago at the time that I was leaving performing.
Okay.
I actually just published a book.
All right.
So it was written 18 years ago when I was transitioning away from performing into teaching.
Okay.
Shameless plug. It's called The Comforting Theory of Time, and it's available on Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com.
Perfect.
Now back to our show.
Yes.
So it was an interesting period of my life because I was living in New Jersey while performing in the Broadway Company of Chicago. So 6 days a week on that New Jersey transit train, about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes each way. I was going through a breakup of a relationship and some kind of personal stuff, and deciding to transfer out of theater into something else. I didn't know at that time what. And that train ride, it sounds weird to even say this, that train ride kind of became my meditation time.
I get that.
You don't think, oh, meditation, New Jersey Transit, of course.
True.
But by having that time set aside, into the city, do a show, back home every single day, it gave me this kind of routine, and I started writing down some thoughts. Those thoughts then turned into kind of an incantation and a meditation. Then eventually those thoughts turned into a book, which I set aside in a closet for the last 18 years, and in the last 4 to 5 months, I pulled that project out, finished it, and I just published it, and it's been it's fun to think that at 52 years of age, I know you thought I was older, 52.
No, you didn't.
And that at 52 years of age, I can take on something completely new and different that is totally unfamiliar territory to me, but has been such a fun process already. And because it was something that helped me at the time that I did it, I love that I'm able to kind of give it back now, and that I'm already getting messages back from other people that it's helping. So
I loved it. I read it myself and I loved it.
Similar to performing, it's just kind of another way to give to your audience.
Definitely.
And then the more you give to your audience, the more that you actually receive from your audience.
Agreed.
So it's been amazing.
Agreed. So coming back to Broadway a little bit, if you could go back, or even to this day, is there a show then or now that you wish that you could have been in, and why?
You're asking me about the one that got away, right?
Yes.
There were so many roles, coming up through college and as a young tenor. There were shows like Starlight Express that I absolutely loved the music from, but just nobody was doing them anymore. So I never got the chance to do those particular roles. So those I always thought of as the one that got away. To this day, I have said many times, there's really only one show that I would ever consider coming out of retirement to do. Come From Away.
It's a great show.
It's a magnificent, magnificent show. If you're watching this and you're a casting director, Come From Away.
Come From Away.
There's two reasons. The music is hauntingly beautiful. Just so you cannot get the songs out of your head. Also, probably because my personal experience with 9/11 is that I was working in New York. I was alone in my apartment in Manhattan on the morning of 9/11, and the whole thing had obviously a very visceral experience
definitely.
for me.
Definitely.
So the first time I saw Come From Away was the Broadway company, and you'll relate to this. As a performer, reaches a point where you're watching a show and you're maybe not so emotionally invested in it as you're like, ooh, I love that fast costume change. Or, hey, I'm guessing they just pulled the curtain because they're changing the set right now.
Right,
You're starting to
right.
watch it from more like a technical perspective. That had been the pattern for a while, but when I saw Come From Away, I sobbed like a baby. I mean, I was with a group of people and it was so bad that, people were like, somebody check on Gary, is he okay? It's just that emotionally gripping.
Oh, yeah.
And I was in tears and I was, cheering for certain characters.
Right.
And I just think it is a magnificent, magnificent work. And I would put the rest of my life on pause for a moment if I ever got the chance to do.
That's
to
a
do
really
Come
good
From
answer.
Away. Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. That's
Thank you.
awesome. All right, so we've actually come to the end.
It goes so
It
fast.
did go very fast,
This
actually.
is how we've known each other for 30 years. It
just
just
sit
goes,
and chat.
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And like I said, I learned some new things today
See?
that I didn't even know.
If we had
so-
there'll be an episode 2 someday.
Yes, one
There we
day,
go.
definitely, definitely. So I just wanted to say thank you to the audience for coming for the first time
Absolutely.
to see the first interview.
Thank
Gary
you.
Kilmer once again.
I want to say that I'm proud of my friend
Oh,
Scott
thank
for
you.
Talk about doing new stuff later in life and reinventing, and this is something that's always been a passion of yours,
Yeah.
and it does not surprise me at all that this is something that a challenge that you would take on. So
I appreciate
congratulations.
that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Take a sip. Yes. So if you liked this, make sure to like, subscribe, and I hope that you come again soon here onto the channel and see who our next person is going to be here on Broadway Banter. Have a great day.
Bye, all.
See ya.